Yo, if you've been playing Mahjong for a while, you would have encountered this thing called Furiten, and you wonder to yourself, hey, he just threw my winning tile, why can't I win? Well, today I'm going to explain what Furiten is and how it can actually be an advantage. Stay tuned. First of all, what is Furiten? To put it simply, when you're in Furiten, you will not be able to run another person's tile. However, you can still tsumo. This means you cannot win on another person's thrown tile, even if it's your winning tile, but you can still win if you draw your own winning tile. So that's pretty bad, because if you need this 8-peen to win, and these guys go 8-peen, 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 then there goes all your chances of winning. So how can we avoid Furiten? Well, there are 3 ways to get into Furiten, so let's take a look at how to avoid them. The first and most common type of Furiten is discard Furiten. You enter this state by having discarded a tile that you would have won on. Let me say that again so it sticks. If you've thrown your own winning tile, you will be in Furiten. A simple example is this. Right here, I need the 6-peen to complete this set. However, in my discard, at some point, I decided I don't need the 6-peen and I threw it away. This will put me in discard Furiten. I will not be able to run anybody who throws the 6-peen. I can still win, but only if I tsumo it. Now here's the kicker. It doesn't just apply to one specific tile, it applies to all your weights. For example, here is a 4-5 so. I can win on either the 3 so or the 6 so. But in my discard, if I have thrown either the 3 so or the 6 so at some point, I will be Furiten for both of these tiles. Similarly, if I had East, East, and 1-peen, 1-peen, and I threw either the 1-peen or the East at some point, again, I will be Furiten for both of these tiles. So how do you avoid discard Furiten? Well, the simple answer is to learn tile efficiency to make sure you're actually throwing the tiles you don't need in the best way possible. I'm currently working on a video teaching basic efficiency, but when we talk about skill in Mahjong, this is what we're talking about. I'll link it up in the top right once it's done, but it'll basically teach you the correct tile to discard in situations like these. Oh, I'll put the answer in the comments as well. The second solution to discard Furiten is to change the weights. For example, if we take this 5-7-peen again, yes, I am Furiten to the 6-peen because I threw it myself, but if I get a 5-peen, what I can do is I can swap out the 7-peen, and now I'm waiting for the 5-peen and East, and my weights have nothing to do with the 6-peen. I would no longer be in Furiten. In the case of 4-5 so, Furiten to the 3-6 because I threw the 6, I could again pull a 2 so, for example. From here, I can throw away the 5, and although I'm just waiting for the 3 so now, I won't be Furiten anymore because the 6 so is no longer part of my weights. And in the case of 1-peen and East, if I pull a 2-peen, for example, I can throw away the 1-peen, and now I'm just waiting for the 3-peen. Once again, because the 3-peen has nothing to do with my discard, I am not in Furiten. So in other words, if you change your weight so that it doesn't involve whatever you're Furiten to, you won't be in Furiten anymore. The next type of Furiten is temporary Furiten. This happens when you're on Tenpai and someone throws your winning tile, but you don't press run for whatever reason. For a lot of beginners, the root of this problem isn't actually Furiten, but no Yaku instead. If you're finding yourself on no Yaku, it's a good idea to, number 1, stop pressing Chi, Pawn, and Kan, and number 2, learn what a Yaku is by watching this video up here first. If you do have a Yaku, let's say for example you pawn the white or something, and you aren't in discard Furiten, so in this case you have not thrown the 4 or 7 so, then when someone throws the 4 or 7, the run button will pop up. This is literally the win button, and there is usually very, very little reason to not just win. So to avoid temporary Furiten, just win. But let's say you do press skip for whatever reason. What happens in temporary Furiten? Well, you will be put into Furiten until it is your turn again. So let's say this guy throws a 7 so. The run button pops up, but you skip it. Maybe you're thinking, I want to run the 4 so instead so I can get a 4-5-6 tricolor sequence. Then the next person throws a 4 so. You want to run him, but you can't because you are now on temporary Furiten due to skipping the 7 so on the same turn. Let's say the person on your left puns the 4-so, then throws a 7-so. You still cannot run because it's not your turn yet. Finally, it gets back to you, and now you are out of temporary Furiten. Now you just throw away some tile, the next guy throws away whatever, and now this guy throws 7-so again. This time, you can run him because you didn't skip a run previously on this turn. If for whatever reason you choose to skip this one as well, and the next guy throws another 4-so, once again, you cannot run them because you skipped a run and it's not your turn yet. Moral of the story, don't skip run, just win. The final type of Furiten is Riichi Furiten. This type of Furiten happens if you skip a run or tsumo during reach. So let's say I call reach here, waiting the 5-6 mon. Somebody throws a 6 mon, so the run prompt will appear, but instead of pressing run, a newbie might go, I would rather win on the red 5 or something, and press skip. If you do this, you have basically doomed yourself. You will no longer be able to run until the entire round ends. The only way for you to win is tsumo. So if the next guy throws a red 5, you're cooked. And of course, if you pull your own winning tile, the tsumo button will pop up. Again, if you skip this and throw it, I mean, it's just the same as discard Furiten. The solution to Riichi Furiten is again very simple. Just press tsumo and run when they pop up. All of the reasons anybody would ever even think of skipping a run or tsumo are way too high level and super duper specific. If you can win, just win. Alright, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that Furiten can actually be helpful to us. But how? Everything I've said so far just makes it sound bad. Well, when you consider that your opponents must also obey by the same rules, it makes it very possible to avoid getting runned. This is actually measured in most Mahjong clients, and it's called your deal-in rate. People who have a low deal-in rate understand how Furiten affects their opponents. For example, if someone calls Riichi, you can tell that they cannot possibly run you on these following tiles because they threw it themselves. They'd be in discard Furiten. You can also tell that whatever the person to your left throws is always 100% safe because the person themselves would be in discard Furiten and everybody else would be in temporary Furiten. And you can tell that every tile that is thrown by any player after someone calls Reach is safe to that player because of Riichi Furiten. This sort of play is called defensive play and is absolutely vital if you want to get good at the game and climb the ranks. So watch this video next where I cover the basic 3 layers of defense that you need to know in order to climb the ranks of Mahjong Soul.